Hi there, my name is Teri Smith. I'm the owner of Adorable Decor, where we make and sell wreaths and other types of home decor, and also work toward inspiring others to make their own designs through my wreath making group. And today we're going to be making an everyday Magnolia grapevine wreath, and hopefully you got to see that I have the supplies all lined out for you and everything in a previous post. And I know it was short notice, but I didn't know what I was going to make until today. And you know, you can always come back and replay this at a later time if you don't have the supplies handy. So, but if you're like me, I always need to watch the video first, and then I can go back and watch the video, pause it where I need to, and that kind of thing. So like I said, I talked Sunday night and earlier in the week. My wreath making group is open this week. The membership is going to close Sunday at midnight, this Sunday at midnight. And I wanted to give a few videos where I kind of give viewers a taste of what it's like in our wreath making group. Now, of course, it's not exactly, because these are 4 times a month or every week. We have a downloaded, edited tutorial, and it's very detailed and gets a supply list and all that kind of thing. And then we have some Facebook Live tutorials also. But I wanted to give you guys kind of a taste of it, because I hear a lot of times people say, well, why would anybody pay for a membership group if there's so much information out on Facebook and YouTube? And I'll tell you, it's a lot different because we give you a lot more details on it, in the membership group. I mean, this videos typically it's more of a socializing, how-to kind of thing, but it's a lot different in the tutorial group. So, but today we're going to be making the everyday Magnolia wreath. This is the grapevine wreath, and it's going to be a pattern that you're going to be able to modify and use with different kind of flowers, different kind of occasions, and it's one of my go-to designs. You can make it pretty quickly, and I'm trying to use mostly all chain store items. Like most of the things today is from Hobby Lobby. The couple of things that I'm using that is not Hobby Lobby is available you can get very similar things there. So, and I wanted to show you too, this is our recent tutorial we did in the group, and that was a detailed edited tutorial. They learned how to make this wreath right here. So hey Charlotte, how are you? Today we're going to be using an 18-inch grapevine wreath. You can also modify this recipe if you just have a 14, you just have a 16-inch, you can modify this recipe as well. And this wreath I got from Michael's. It was packed with leaves, so I did go ahead and I cleaned out the leaves. You wouldn't have wanted to watch all that time. And I kind of cleaned up the ends, or some of the little vines that were sticking out. But when you're looking at a grapevine wreath, you want to not only look that it's nice and relatively round. This one does have a few little fat spots that are uneven, and we'll talk about that in a second. But you want to see that it's relatively round, and then you also want to look right straight on and make sure that it's straight this way. Now, everything I'm talking about here with the grapevines, there are fixes to it. You can always fix a warped grapevine. You can fix an uneven one. But, if you don't need to make more work for yourself, why would you do it, right? So, but anyway, you want to look that way. You want to make sure that the vines are not too tightly woven and not too loosely woven. This one actually, once I got all the leaves out of it, it is kind of loosely woven down here. And kind of all over, but we can deal with most areas. This area is the worst, and I'm going to show you how we're going to fix that. And I usually, when I'm making a grapevine, and this is going to have part of it exposed, and so I want to try and find the worst area that's going to be covered with the bow and the greenery, and all the goodies, okay? So I'd already kind of looked at this. What I do, like I said, I look for the bad spots, which are, down here is the worst spot. And then I sit it on my easel, and I kind of do it like this and kind of see how it wants to lay. And you can see right there, even though we looked at it and it looked pretty round, if you look at it hanging this way, it looks more oblong. It looks wider than it is this way. So, but anyway, it'll just kind of tell you which way it wants to hang. And I also look, like I said, I looked over here, and this is probably the best part of the wreath, and this is the area that's going to be exposed. Okay? All right, so first thing I'm going to do is put a wreath hanger on it. For that, we're going to be using rustic wire. All right, so this is rustic wire. This is my preferred supply that I use for wreath hangers. And you can get this at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, about any craft store. Hobby Lobby does call it grapevine wire, not rustic wire, so just know that. But it's a heavy gauged wire that is wrapped in like a jute-like material. It comes in different colors. I've seen like a cream color. I've seen, of course, the brown's what I use the most. And then if you're using an evergreen base, you can also get a green color to it, okay? But I usually measure off, say 16 inches or so. And, some other alternatives, if you don't want to use grapevine wire, you can use a pipe cleaner. I did that for a long time. You can use a floral wire, but make sure it's a heavier gauged floral wire. If it's a pipe cleaner, I always put 2 of them together, okay? All right, so I find where I want my wreath hanger at. I'm going to do this backwards for you guys. Sometimes it's a little awkward. And I get my needle nose pliers. Let me zoom in here for you. All right, and I usually just stick my finger down through here. And I want to go more toward the back, not the front. This is my front of my wreath, okay? I want to go just a little bit more toward the back. And I'm going to take those needle nose pliers and run it up. Because this rustic wire, as I push it through the grapevine, it would fray. So I just grab a hold of it, I pull it down, and then I go back up again, and I make sure that I don't go down the same channel. When I do that, I want a different channel so that it's not as likely to come out. All right, I pull that down. And there's all kinds of ways to do a wreath hanger. Just find one that works for you and go with it, okay? And sometimes I might cut my grapevine or my rustic wire too short, so I might alter the way I do it. Like this time, I cut it just a little bit short. So I'm just going to twist it right here, all right? And then I just bring it right back up in this grapevine. And I take my, needle nose pliers and I just push it in there, okay? Now I noticed that I had part of the pointy end of the wire sticking up through the top there, so I just made sure to go down and, fold that under so I don't have anything exposed where the customer might hurt themselves, okay? All right, so now I've got a nice professional looking wreath hanger, okay? I'm trying to get in front of it with my white shirt so you can see it. It's always hard. Oh, thank you, Louise. Thank you so much. I always forget whenever I'm on camera that the things are backwards to what I see. So sometimes you'll see me move the opposite way I should be, and that's because I've gotten messed up again. So, all right, now I told you I was going to show you how we were going to fix this area of the wreath that's just a little bit too narrow, or I'm sorry, not narrow, but too wide. You can look, actually you can see my wall back behind it, right? So what I'm going to do, hey Rhonda, I hadn't seen you for a bit. I was just thinking about you the other day. You doing okay? Rhonda's a fellow Hoosier here. Been a long time customer. But I hadn't seen you for a bit. I know, I think since wintertime. All right, now got busy talking. I wasn't showing you. We don't do this in the tutorials, guys. All right, what I'm using is binding wire. And it kind of looks like the rustic wire, right? And I suppose for that fact, if you don't want to go out and buy binding wire and you had rustic wire, you could use it for the same thing. But it's a little bit more narrow and a little bit more easily flexible. And I'm just going to take that and I'm just going to tighten these branches up just a little bit. Not too tight, okay? I'll zoom in here again. Hey, Nancy. Zoom in here again here. And I just twist it like that, and I could just leave it, I could just leave it like right where it is, but I'm going to wrap it around just a little bit more. And this actually has a this has a briar vine in it. I just stuck my finger on that. I didn't notice it before. There's two of them. I'm going to pull those out of there so nobody gets hurt on it when they grab it, because I just poked myself. Let's see, where'd it go? Just blends right in with the grapevine. There we go. And right now, I mean, grapevines are never completely perfect, let's just face it. But maybe right now they're a little bit worse because the supply is so sparse. But you just got to, learn how to deal with it. And, every defect we find pretty much, there is a fix for it. All right, and I'm going to come up here and do one more up this area. I think we'll be good then. Like I said, even a warped grapevine you can fix. All right, I'm going to just take that, I'm going to tuck that down in there. Like I said, just make sure that you don't get it too tight, because then you're not going to be able to get your stems in. All right, I'm going to cut one more piece off. Like I said, then I think we'll be in business. Just right up in this area right here. Okay, I think that looks good. All right, and this side, we're just going to leave that because that's going to be exposed. Okay? All right. Hi, Alice and Kristen. Okay, and today's inspiration are going to be these beautiful magnolias. Magnolias are a great option for an everyday wreath. Like I said, though, if you want to substitute any of the larger headed flowers like hydrangeas, sunflowers, daisy, like a big Gerber daisy, dahlias, anything like that, you can substitute using this same pattern that we're going to be using today. Okay, and I've got two bushes. I didn't know with the 18-inch wreath, I might need to borrow into this, because I had these two that I'd plan on using with this, so 7. Each one of these has 5 heads, and I was thinking 7 will be enough, but I wasn't sure. All right, and then and also if you guys had the supplies, I might go back and edit it depending on what we end up using, because you never know ahead of time exactly what you're going to use. Okay, but we have the Stilby bush that is a cream colored also. And I always like to have, differing textures. This kind of gives us kind of a spiky texture. And then I also have this, I think they called this a seeded bush, something like that. And it has these little cream colored berries on the end, plus a lot of good greenery that will, again, give us another texture. Okay? And I have a couple of different greeneries that I grabbed. Again, I tried to use things that are commonly easily available. This is a greenery bush that I like to use a lot. It is a Hobby Lobby bush, and what I like about it is that it has differing textures. It has the stiffer, more bladed grass, and then it has kind of this wispy grass too that also has a little bit of variegation. And you know, when I'm looking at the greenery, again, I want differing colors, differing textures. But if you notice, even the variegation in here will kind of pair with the magnolias. In the center of the magnolia, it has almost like a lime green center. And I'm looking at that and thinking that that's going to play off of that. Okay? And I also grabbed some other bushes too. I like to use a lot, I think this is eucalyptus, kind of a frosted eucalyptus. We might use that. And this is a thyme bush. Okay. And then I grabbed this one too. I doubt if I'll use that one. This one's kind of a short, smaller bush. I don't think we're probably going to use that one. But I always like to bring a lot to my table to give me options. Okay. And then we're going to use some ribbon. My plan is I'm going to put a bow here, has some long tails, and then the florals go out either side with some greenery. So, all right, now the two ribbons I'm using is one is the 1.5 inch cabana stripe, beige and kind of a cream color. And then I'm also wanting to use this burlap. It's a faux burlap, 1.5 inch. I always use wired ribbon. You're setting yourself up for failure if you don't have wired ribbon in your bows, especially if you're new. Now, I say always. I should say 99% of the time I use wired ribbon. This past week, I did do one design, an Easter cross actually, that little one right there. And that ribbon was not wired, but it's very, very stiff, and I could use small loops. All right, let me get this pin out of here. I'm pretty sure I have enough ribbon on this cabana stripe. I'm hoping. Let me get my ribbons all situated here. So I'm going to make this bow. It's going to have 3 loops on either side. Okay, like I said, I want long flowy tails, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this bow with 2 ribbons at a time. Okay, and if you can't or don't feel comfortable doing your bow by hand, you can always use a bow maker. You know, easy bow makers out there. Pro Bow is out there. I do have videos on my blog and on YouTube on how to make bows with by hand, by using the bow maker, easy bow maker, and by using the Pro Bow. So, but I prefer to do mine by hand most times. Okay, the first thing though, we need to get a lot of ribbon out. Kind of clear off my spot. I'm going to put my stuff back off the table here. Everybody can tell you I start getting all, I don't know, tight in the throat whenever I got too much stuff on my table. All right. Oh, and we need a pipe cleaner. And even though the ribbon is lighter color, I'm going to use a dark brown pipe cleaner because that's going to help that blend in with the grapevine, and it'll help with the cleanup on the back side of the wreath whenever we're done. Okay? Alrighty. Now let me see. I'm just going to kind of measure this out here. And this is about a 22-inch tail. I don't know if I'll leave it that long, but that's what we're going to start out with. Okay? All right. And what I do for this bow, I'm grabbing hold of it like this. Okay? I'm going to try and turn with my back here toward you. Okay? I've got my hand there, and I'm just going to bring my hand, and I'm going to bring this right back to my fingers, okay? All right, and I'm going to start out with a little smaller loop. This one is about probably about 11 inches, give or take. All right, but we've got the ribbon pinched like this. We're just going to bring both of these ribbons back, put it in our hand. We're going to pinch it. Okay? All right, now when we get to the center, we're going to twist it 180 degrees. Okay? We were like this. We're going to twist it 180 degrees. We're going to bring it back to the center. Okay? Just like that. And I always, at this point, I come up and I make sure that my two bow loops are about the same. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want it grossly uneven. Okay? And then I'm pinching it again. Okay? Twist it 180 degrees. Okay? So that's what I have right now. Let me turn that way. I'm not double jointed. That's what we have right now. We just have a bow tie. We have both of our ribbons together. Okay? All right, now, make sure you keep your ribbon straight, better than I am right here. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to run my hand down. I'm going to bring another loop. This one's just a tad bit larger, maybe a half inch. Okay, I'm going to bring it to the center. Okay, I'm going to twist it. Every time you come in, you want to make sure that you're twisting it 180 degrees. I need to drop those on the floor. Get me. There we go. All right. So that's what we have so far. I'm going to bring my hand down again, bring it back to the center. And again, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I'm wanting these last two loops to be just a little bit larger than the first loop. Okay? All right, so that's what we have so far. I'm back to the center, so I'm going to twist it again. Okay? So we got an X. It looks like this one needs to be a little bit bigger. Yeah, about like that. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing. Twist it 180 degrees. You're back to the center. This is the larger one. I want this about the same size as my larger one. Okay? And see where I'm holding my ribbon? It's back here in the meat of my hand, not out here on the tip. Okay? That's the way you're going to keep your hand from cramping. Okay? So I'm going to do this. I'm just repeating the same process. Bringing it back. Back to the center. Okay? Every time I come to the center, I'm twisting. And make sure that when you're twisting, that you're twisting the 180 degrees. Okay? All right, so that's what we have so far. I'm going to bring it down here, and like I said, I wanted 3 loops of each ribbon on either side. Okay? I'm going to trim off my tails. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Have 3 loops of each ribbon on either side. All right, now I'm going to take my pipe cleaner, and I'm going to run this right down the meat of my hand. or by the meat of my palm there. And I'm going to bring it out in between my pointer finger and my middle finger. Okay? And you guys, I wasn't able to do this overnight. Okay? It took lots of trial and error, lots of practice to do a bow. So don't get frustrated. And if we're using wired ribbon, we'll be able to make it look like a decent bow. Okay? So don't get frustrated. Don't give up. And like I said, if you feel more comfortable using a bow maker, by all means do that. All right? Now I'm just going to kind of look at it here and make sure I've got all my loops going the way I want them. I want that center smaller one, just a little bit smaller. And I'm looking at it, it might be a little bit bigger on one side, so I'm just going to tug it through. Okay, so I should have a center. It's still a little bit big on this side. Hang on. Okay. I have not tightened my pipe cleaner down completely at this point, so that's what's allowing me to make adjustments if I need to. Okay? All right, so I've got the X, and then I've got my center loops that are just a little bit smaller. Okay? All right, now I'm gonna, once I'm happy, I'm gonna pinch it tight and twist it down. Okay? All right, and once we get it up on the wreath, then we'll fluff out these bow loops. Okay? But like I said, I might have gone through that a little fast just for what we're doing today, but I do have other bow making tutorials on my blog. Okay? All right. Oh, Liz says a hair appointment to blade you. You got to have your priorities, Liz. Hair is always priority. I couldn't tell you how many times that I would cancel a doctor's appointment, but I'll never cancel my hair appointment. All right. What I'm thinking, I kind of want it about right here. Okay, and then, like I said, we'll put florals here and florals over here. So let's go ahead and put that on our wreath. And I wanted to show you something here. We've got these, you know, you've got these vines that wrap around and actually keep your wreath together. I've got one right here where I want to put my bow. Don't ever use that just to hang your bow on, okay? Because it's just going to flop all over the place. What I'm going to do, I'm going to actually squeeze this down. Can you guys see that? I'm going to squeeze that down, and I'm going to put that pipe cleaner right over the top of it. And that's going to, actually, is that arrow in it? Yeah. And that's going to help hold that vine down where I want it. And when I'm putting it, when I'm doing this, I'm also being sure I don't want to put my bow down here on the grapevine. I want to put it toward the center. Okay? All right, now I'm going to make sure that I've got this down really good and snug. Don't want no floppy bows. Guys, I just thought of something. Talking about hair, yesterday when we were doing our live video in our group, one of the gals told me I had a flower in my hair, and it just made me think. I was cleaning all these leaves out of my vine or grapevine before I went live, and I felt all kinds of stuff hitting my hair, so don't be surprised if I got like sticks or leaves or something all over my hair. I'll just have to check it later. Okay, so I've got my bow there, so now I'm going to take each one of these individual ribbon loops, and I'm just going to spread them out. Okay? Oops. I didn't want to alternate the colors. Okay. since I have the striped here, I'm going to bring the burlap more toward the center there. And with this wired ribbon, if it's good quality ribbon, you can always manipulate it to stay the way you want it. That's what I was part of what I was talking about earlier. If you mess up on your bow, we can almost always, there's a way to fix it. Okay? All right, I'm going to leave those tails down like that right now. Let me raise this up just a little bit too. Okay? All right, everybody good? Okay. All right. Now the next thing I want to do, I want to go ahead and make a little bit of a base with the greenery. And let me lay some things here. Now, if I was just making this and I wasn't trying to make a supply list that was easily available, I would probably use this thyme bush as my initial base. But as I said, I wanted to make things use things that you guys would be easily available to use. So we'll start out with this, I forget what kind of, is swordgrass and watergrass, I think, bush. I think that was the name of it. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take these pieces here and slide that upward. Make sure that I don't push it so hard that I push the end of it off, though. Okay? I also like that's one of the reasons I like this bush too. I can always break this down into more than one stem if I need to. Or if I've got a stem that's too long or anything like that, I can just adjust it as I need to. And I'm not going to use all of it just yet. We may not use this whole bush for the design. You might have some leftovers. Okay. I think that's a good start. Let's go ahead and clip these off. Like I said, this is a bush I like to use a lot. The Hobby Lobby carries. I like the way that I guess that's the swordgrass. I like the way that has so much movement in it. You can imagine as a wreath hanging on the door, how it kind of catches in the wind and has some movement to it. Okay, now I'm going to find out right now if I have my grapevine warm or snug enough, and I think I do. I might still put a steel pick on mine, and if you don't have a steel pick machine, you can use a wooden floral pick. And I also have tutorials on how to do those. I'm going to go ahead and put some picks on these. I think as I get farther along in the design, I won't need picks at all. But I like to put a little backdrop for my greenery. It just basically outlines the shape of the wreath and gives me an idea how far to go out with my florals. Oops. Since I raised my table up, I have not had enough strength on some of these stems to get that pick down tight around these. I have to stand on my tiptoes to do it. Actually, this one's not good enough. Let me squash that down, and I'll show you what these look like. If you do not do a lot of florals, I would not recommend getting a steel pick machine. Actually, this one's, because they can be kind of pricey. But if you do a lot of florals, they are lifesavers. But what it does, it sticks this metal piece there, and You can beef up a stem if your stem's too thin, like that's what I'm using it for here. Or if you need just a little bit of length, you can do that. Use it for that also. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and let's start placing the greenery. I'm going to zoom in here for you. And I'm just going to go and start working at the bow and working outward. Okay? I put one piece on one side. I come and do the same on the other side to keep it balanced. And as I'm putting these stems in there, I am I'm going parallel with the grapevine. I'm not just sticking it straight in, okay? And I'm making sure to fluff my little stems. I think some of these I cut way too long. And when you put your stems in, it should feel just a little bit of resistance. If you don't feel any resistance at all, you need to find another place to put it. Usually you don't have to move it real far, but just another place to where you can feel a little resistance where it's not going to fall out. Okay? All right, I put two right straight out from the center of the bow. Now I put it one from the inside of the bow. And I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go on the inside of the bow. Okay. All right, now I'm going to make one down here on either side. And every time I'm putting in a stem, I'm kind of fluffing it just a little bit. So it's not flat like it just came off the boat from China. Because you can imagine it's been on that ship, because most of our floral supplies are from China. And especially this year, they've been sitting on that boat forever, waiting to get transported over here so us wreath makers and florists can use them. All right, I'm going to do one more. And like I said, we went from the middle of the bow, then to the inside of the bow. Now we're at the outside of the bow. Don't forget, when you're making designs, don't forget about the bottom of your bow and back behind your bow. Got one little piece of greenery that's looks like it's been squashed. May have to fix that, but all right. So I think I want to put just a little bit more on either side, maybe one more piece. And Monday is March, and I'm so excited. March to me sounds so much warmer than February. It's like I always get my second wind whenever March comes around. All right, I'm going to put another pick on both of these. Oops. Okay. And like I said, we're just doing a backdrop here. Just going to go kind of in the middle, only I'm going to go out from the bow a little bit. Okay? And as I said, you can adjust this recipe. If you don't have any magnolias or you don't like magnolias, you can always use hydrangeas. I've used this recipe with hydrangeas a lot. And this is also a good recipe for somebody looking for a gift, like a housewarming gift, or say a realtor that has that wants to buy a new homeowner a gift. This would be a good option. All right, the bulk of my flowers are going to be on this side. I'm going to come out here just a little bit longer with this last piece of greenery. And again, I'm going parallel to the grapevine when I'm inserting them. Okay? All right, so that's what we have so far. Okay? All right, everybody doing good? All right, now I want to go ahead, I want to start placing my magnolias. I love magnolias. And like I said, I have this bush that has 5 heads on it. This is the way it comes from Hobby Lobby. And then I have a leftover that I'm going to go ahead and cut these off first. I think I'm going to probably use at least one of them. And I'm cutting these. It has 2 bunches of leaves here. Okay? I'm cutting it just above the first leaf. Okay? Just like right up above that. Okay, so you'll have 1 set of leaves left on the bush or on the flower. Save your leaves though. Those magnolia leaves make really nice filler leaves. And you can also use them to cover your macamés on the back of a wreath that you completed. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and cut off all of these. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to cut off all but one of them. I guess it really wouldn't have mattered if I'd have only cut one off that extra bush, would it? Oops, thought that almost fell on my glue pot, guys. Better pay more attention. Okay, all right, so I have 7 flower heads right now. I don't know if we'll use them all or not. Okay, and as I'm placing them, I'm kind of flexing them again, just like we do the greenery. I want them to be kind of natural. And in this case, I usually do go ahead and place my flowers first, just to make sure that I like the pattern. And I'm going to start out at the bow, and I'll start working outward. And as I place them, I'm going to be sure that I'm not sticking these down flush. I want them to stick out away from the wreath a little bit. And these stems are a little bit on the thicker side, so I don't think we're going to have to put a pick in them. Okay? All right, so I'm just going to start out from the bow, like I said. It's right there. I like to outline my bow. And I'm going to want this one kind of pointing upward, but it's not going to stay right now. Well, I guess it is. Hey, Sandy, Teresa. All right, got that one there. I'm going to come right back over here on the other side, again, toward the middle of the bow. And I don't make it matchy-match. I don't want, since I have this one kind of pointing upward, I don't want it point in the same direction, okay? And again, see, I'm kind of standing it out from the bow, or out from the wreath, I mean. It's probably out probably about 6 inches or so, I'd imagine. Okay. All right, now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put one toward the inside and a little higher. Something like that. And these guys, they probably won't stay until we glue them in, so I'm not going to mess with it too much. All right, and I'm going to put one toward the inside and a little bit longer. Okay. And then I feel like I need one right in this area right here. And remember, these are not the only flowers we're going to be using, so. Okay, I'll bring one diagonal from there. Okay. I hope you guys can see and hear okay. Hey, Jody, Mary. Got a couple of Marys out there. All right, so that's about the look I want. Okay, and again, I'm not going to glue anything just yet. I think I might put one back here too. I said I wanted this side to be just a little bit heavier than this side. I think we need to put one right here. Okay? All right, so that's my plan right now. That it might change though. Okay? All right, so now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start gluing things in if you're happy with the way it is. And you know, I always tell, you know, in my group, I always tell them, you know, when I very first started, I would get the perfect placement of my items. I'd take them out to glue them, and then I'd forget where I had them. And that just was just a thorn in my side forever until a friend of mine told me the best tip anybody ever told me. They said, well, just whenever you take that flower out, just take like a big, you know, floral pick, or you could even take one of these stems or even this down here and stick it right where you took it out of. And then you'll always know where to go back to. So, but I don't feel like I need to do that too much anymore, but I still do on occasion. And actually this one is in there kind of snug. I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to take some hot glue and squirt down on that one. I might be able to do that with all of them on this side because the glue is going to kind of run down the direct direction anyway. Okay. And I'm going to put just a little bit of moss over the top of it. If you don't have any moss, you can always take a leaf and use that also. I like to use this Spanish moss that I get from Walmart. Just make sure that you don't burn yourself when you put it in there. Okay? All right, I'm going to go ahead and do this one the same. I think I'm going to be able to do most all of them on that side that way. I can find the stem. There it is. And I always do a tug test whenever I'm done with a design. Before I ever mail it off, I always do what I call a tug test. Just pull on it just to make sure that each individual flower is glued in, because, you know, we can forget real easily. Say the phone rings or something, you get distracted. Can't remember which one you glued in, which one you didn't. Okay. All right, so there's that one. Now let's do this one. And don't worry so much about the way the head is facing at this point, because we can always adjust that back the way we need to. Okay, now that one's not in there very tight, so I'm just going to glue it back in. I'm going to drop it in my hot glue. There we go. Okay, now we'll come over on this side. Over here. Did one of my flowers fall out? It did. I've probably been standing all over the top of it. I'm gonna say, I thought we put 4 on one side and 1 or 3 on the other. I'm going to hold this one here for a minute, just so it's going to glue where I have it, or the way I have it facing anyway. So I want this one facing off one direction. I want this one to face up just a little bit more forward. It's almost ready. Okay, now I'm going to glue this one in down here. Make sure that get your grass out of the way. All right, and I believe we had that other one. Let's see. I think that needs to go out just a little further. Okay. Then we had this other one going down here on the bottom. Looks like I did step on that flower. I had no idea it had fallen. But, okay. All right, that's what we have so far. And as I said, don't worry too much about looking at it, how even the placement is and that kind of thing, because they are wired all the way to the head of the flower so we can manipulate them. Okay? All right. I'm going to turn it toward me here so I can kind of look. As you know, I have a hard time seeing everything when we're going live because I only see this side. I don't see that side over there. Okay. All right. I'm loving this, you guys. I think it's really pretty already. We wouldn't have to do too much at all to it. Yeah, I didn't notice that until I went and stepped all over it. But luckily, my shoes are clean. All right. Now, I think what I want to do at this point... Let me look here. We may not use all of this because you can see how much those magnolia leaves filled in the greenery. So we may not need to use a whole lot of anything. I would like to use some of this just to bring in another texture. I am going to try on a sprig of it, see what it looks like. And we're going to bend it again, trying to make it look more natural. Oh, I think so. I think that'll look nice. What do you guys think? Oh, thank you, Joanne. Thank you. I think so. It'll add another texture and kind of fill in the greenery spots. I am going to trim off the bottom of this. You can't move the stems or the pieces on this stem like what I was talking about with the greenery bush. But I'm going to trim off this. I want this to come right up in between this area right here. Right in there. And like I said, it just adds another texture, it adds just a hint of that cream color there. So if I put that over there, I'm going to bring a piece over on the other side. Trying to find, on this bush, you have different level or different lengths of the stems. I want a longer one right now. I'm going to go ahead and cut off a few of them. And again, cutting off the last two sprigs here. I will save those though, because you might need something. We might need something to go in our bow. Okay? All right, so since I went over here, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go opposite. Diagonal, I should say. Go right up underneath the here. And we're at the point now where sometimes it gets a little bit difficult trying to find a spot. You just got to be careful that you don't run your glue all over, all over the existing greenery and stuff. Excuse me. All right, so got a space over here. We can add a little piece. And this is another shorter piece here. And for this one, I'm just clipping off the bottom, the very bottom one. Yes, I did, Liz. Liz was wanting to know, did I get the lighter greenery from Hobby Lobby also? Yes. And I've got a post on my Facebook page, Liz, on my business page, that tells you all the supplies that we're using here. If you want to go grab that real quick. And I sent it out. You should be on my email, so you should have gotten that in your email also. Now, Liz is one of our group members. Okay. All right, so I brought one over here. I'm going to come over in this area. So I'm going to look at this one. I might need a longer one. Nope. And again, I'm trying to purposely keep this one a little bit lighter over on this side. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn it toward me now so I can kind of see what we need to do. Another leaf just fell off at the top of there. I think it was a leaf. Okay. I'm a little gun shy. You know, when it starts warming up, we get stink bugs, and I tell you, outside they've been just all over our porch. And I hate those things. I get goosebumps talking about her, just thinking about them. I hate them. My husband just laughs at me. Like, you don't realize how serious I am about that. All right, I want to make sure that, like down here, I was kind of fussing with these. I want to make sure that all my flower heads have their own space. I don't want them to be crowded at all. Okay, I don't want any of the any of the other magnolias to be touching each other. Okay. All right. Oh, I got sidetracked there. Okay. I think we need to add just a little bit of the lighter greenery down here, and probably down here underneath the bow as well. Right here. Okay. And right over here. And then I'll bring some up here over on the top side of the bow as well. I tell you guys, Hobby Lobby really has some nice filler flowers this year. I always kind of struggled finding those, but the last time I went, I stocked up. On my live I did last night, I used another Hobby Lobby bush that I got that comes in all kinds of different colors. It seems like greenery and filler flowers are always the hard things to find. I mean, you can find them, but I'm talking about quality. And I mean, look at this. This is plastic, but it just looks so realistic. And, you know, plastic will hold up better outside. So, you know, it's not like Grandma's plastic. I mean, I remember my grandma's, bless her soul, Mimi. I remember her plastic greenery that she used to put on the graves, and it's not the same. So, okay. All right. Oh, I wanted to make sure I've got 2 more pieces. And I do. Okay. All right. So these pieces here are a little bit shorter, so I'm going to put these up the top. I'll put my longer pieces down here. Okay. And we're just going to go right in there behind the bow. And as I said earlier, about this time it starts getting a little bit tighter in there. Might be a little harder to find some place to put your stems. All right, so I'm going to go up here behind the bow. But I think, I mean, looking at this, at, you know, well before the point we're at right now, you could have stopped and you could have had a beautiful wreath, you know? You don't have to do all this, you know, put all this filler in there. The magnolia leaves in themselves are beautiful. Okay. All right, now let's go below the bow here. Take a couple of the shorter sprigs. Well, these are longer sprigs, I should say. Oh my gosh, Diana said she hates stink bugs, had one on her head. Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'd do. When my husband was laughing at me, I told him, I said, I'm telling you right now, if one of those lands on me in the middle of the night in our house, I don't know, I can't be responsible what happens. I mean, I don't think they realize, they don't realize how serious we are. All right, I'm going to raise this up here. I'm going to go, I said, right underneath of the bow. On your head, that would just, I would be hysterical. Last year, I found one in our kitchen. It was up on one of our can lights in the kitchen. And I waited till my husband came home to go in the kitchen. And I made him go and get it. Because I was afraid if I batted at it, that then it would land on my head or on me. So I just left him and I watched him so I knew where he was. Okay. All right, and these pieces that I'm putting underneath of the bow, I'm putting it behind this greenery here because, you know, as we put our stems in, or any of our items really, you want to put some of it toward the back, you want to put some of it toward the front. And, you know, try to equally distribute it as best you can. All right, one more piece down here, right up underneath the bow. Okay. I am loving this, you guys. Love it. All right, I'm going to turn it toward me now so I can kind of see where we're at. If we wanted to, I might try it here. Let me look. Have that one more bush. I'm going to put another magnolia here just to see. I don't know. I think I like it better without. I think I like it better this way. And like I said, just make sure all your flower heads are pointing, you know, different directions, just like in nature. You know, you look out at a flower garden and all the flowers are not pointing the same direction. All right, and like I said, we're saving all these little pieces here. Put those off to the side. And now I have the stilby. Don't know how much of that we might use. Again, we're going to try it on for size. And also this stem does not have the movable or the slidable pieces to it. What's there's there. Yeah. I think it's because they look so prehistoric and they got those little prickly legs. That's the things that bother me. It's not even the smell. It's the, I don't know. I don't know what it is. But they're awful. Okay, I'm just going to try one of these on just for size here, and let's see what we think. We might not use them. I'm just going to look in the camera here. I think I like it. I say go for it. What do you guys think? Oh my gosh, Liz doesn't know what a stink bug is. Oh, phew. Good for you, Liz. Good for you. But in the spring and in the fall, here in the Midwest anyway, they can be everywhere. And you can't hear them. They just clump and they're there. I like these. I like that little spikiness. You know, we have the, just like with the greenery, you want to have different textures and colors of greenery. Here we're having different colors and texture of florals. I like the little nubby things here. I like the magnolias, and then this adds just another texture. Let's put those in there. I don't know if we'll get by with one bush. These have, let's see, one, two, well, we probably can. Might be able to get by with one. All right, now I want to kind of point out behind over here. Renee says, go for it. Yeah, I like it. Like it. So if we went over here, kind of towering up out of the, kind of framing the florals and the greenery. So we'll come over here. I did not put anything over here to tighten this grapevine, so I'm going to need to put a pick on this. Put it in just a little bit more. There we go. All right, and so let's come in. Let's bring a piece in here closer to the bow. I'm just going to go ahead and cut all these off now that I know we're going to use them. And some of them we'll probably have to put picks on them, some of them we won't. These filler flowers would be really nice to use in a centerpiece also. All right, and so we have some longer pieces, we have some shorter pieces, so I'm separating them out accordingly. Okay, so I've got 2 short pieces, and that, well, actually I have 3, and those we'll use here right around the bow. I'll probably need to take off these little nubs here. And just like we did our other florals, we'll be kind of manipulating them, kind of bending them. I'll start out right here, right in the center. Everybody doing okay out there? So does anybody have any questions about our group? Like I said, this tutorial here kind of gives you an idea. As I said, we cover a lot about, I think it's very important to learn why we do different things, why you select 3 different kinds of greenery or 2 different kinds of greenery, why you select all the different kinds of flowers, flower placement, that kind of thing. So my goal is when I'm teaching is not for you to be able to copy what I'm doing, but for you to be able to go out on your own, select your own greenery, select your own florals, that kind of thing. It's just, even here in Indiana, which I didn't know this until just the other day, just even here in Indiana, the Hobby Lobby here where I live does not carry the same thing as what Linda's carries, and she's less than an hour away from me. So, so you need to have alternatives and that kind of thing, and we talk about those things in our group. I am loving this. This might be one of my favorite magnolias we've made. And as I said, every time I put one over here, I'm mirroring it on the other side. Doesn't have to be the exact same placement, but kind of the same region, if that makes sense. Just like here, I don't have to point this flower the exact same direction that I have it pointed over here, but I'm going back in the same area just to keep it balanced. I had talked about having all those other greeneries too. I don't know that we're going to need to add them. We are filling up. I think I grabbed a shorter one for right here than what I have over here. I need to bring that back. I'm going to grab that and put in a longer one. I didn't mean to do that. So if I was going to use a longer and a shorter, I would use the longer on this side, because this is where I want more of the weight of the wreath on this side. There we go. And that way it fills in that space right there. Okay, all right, let's see. Got two more pieces of that bush. One of them's a longer one, one of them's a shorter one. I think I'm going to put the shorter one right back here. And then we'll put the longer one over here. And I ruined that stem on this one whenever I put it in there in the wrong place. So I'm going to trim that off, and then I'm going to have to put a steel pick on it to hold it together. Oh, Holly or Donna says Hobby Lobby has boxwood picks boxwood you don't have to pick. Yeah, I saw their boxwood. It looks nice. I've not ever bought it, so I didn't know what the stem looked like. I'm going up here, like I said, right underneath this bow. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go over on this side, and I want it kind of pointing down here. Let me make sure it's going to be long enough. Where do I want it? I think I want it right here. I might borrow another short piece off of this other bush. Actually, I just discovered I have been borrowing off of this other bush. I thought I was getting it all from the same bush, but I haven't been. So if you're following the supplies, then I am using two of the stilbies. And again, if you have leftovers, they'd be great filler bushes. All right, I want a piece down in here also. Okay. Again, it's going to be a shorter one. I still need a piece right in here. I keep on ignoring that spot. And I'm going to use a longer one because I want it to extend outward. I want it to extend out to this region right in here. Okay. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn it toward me now so I can see where we're at. I really like this. This has actually turned out to be a pretty large wreath. Like I said, though, you do not have to use an 18-inch wreath. If you want to make something smaller, you can. All right, now, those little pieces that I told you that we're going to save, I'm going to come in now. I'm pretty happy what we have going on everywhere. Let me look in the camera here. Maybe bring this guy down just a hair. Okay. All right, now, one thing, I don't think I'm going to add too much more greenery, except I do want to put just a little bit more right here behind the bow. Okay, and we'll just go ahead and we'll use some of this. I'm going to push this all the way to the top. Okay. All right, let me see where I need to put it. And I'm going behind. I don't want to hide this astilbe that we have going on there. And I'm trimming this pretty short. Long enough where it's going to have enough contact with my grapevine. But I don't want to, you know, I'm kind of running out of room because we were inserting everything coming off of the bow. Right there's one, and I'm going to put, that one was facing that way. The other one I'm going to face the other way. There we go. Just so we don't have that empty space behind our bow. Okay? And if you wanted to, you could put this last, I would not make it this long, obviously, but you could take this last sprig of this little berry bush here, or seeding bush, I can't remember the name of it, but maybe trim it up kind of short. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I don't know why I was just sitting there talking about it. I need to do it anyway. I don't like to look back there and there be emptiness behind the bow. Okay, and that also helps our bow tails to fall outward also. Okay, all right, now let's start working on our bow here. And as I said, you know, I wanted to kind of save some of these little sprigs that we were cutting off. I'm thinking we're going to put some of these in here, and maybe some of our magnolia leaves that we had left over. And to me, it just makes the wreath look a little bit more finished, a little bit more as the bow is part of the design, not just put on top there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to put a couple of magnolia leaves first. We'll just place those in there. I'm going to drop them in some glue and just place them in there. Now, before you do this, you got to make sure you're happy with your bow, okay? And I'm just going to get a little bit of glue. Okay, go up. We'll put one going up here. Now you don't want it to start looking fake, so that's why I'm kind of trying them on for size here. I want it to look natural. I think I'll stop there. Okay. All right, now I'm just going to add a few of these little sprigs here. And if you have any, the stilby, you could stick some of that in there as well. I'm just dipping this in my glue pan. Now, if you don't have a glue pot, some of these little pieces I'm sticking in, they might melt. They might melt if they're just the plastic ends. So keep that in mind. Here we go. So I'll come up here. I'm going to put a couple of those pieces up there. You want to take one of these little stilby pieces also and put in there. Okay. All right, now last thing, let's take care of our bow tails. Okay. Spread these out just a little bit. I'm gonna leave them long. You don't have to. If you don't like that look, you don't have to. Okay. I'm gonna dovetail them though. And you can always add more tails too if you want to. And I don't try to get them all even. I kind of stagger them. And if you don't know what dovetailing is, this is our ribbon. Wired edges. I'm going to fold the wired edges together. So here is your wired edge on this side, folded edge on this side, and we're going to cut upward. Okay? And to me, it just gives a little bit more of a finished look. Okay. All right, and then I just kind of run my hand over the ribbon. If you want to curl it just a little bit, you can do that. This cabana ribbon, it is such a nice, just really a versatile color to use. I always try to keep this in my stash. Same way with burlap or like a natural color. You can put it with anything. Okay. All right, guys. I think we're done. I really like this. Really like it a lot. And like I said, this is something you can put in your toolbox if you need just an everyday wreath, if you want to make hydrangeas, if you want to make daisies, if you want to make dahlias, any of those big, larger headed peonies. You could also use that. But just an overall good recipe to keep in your toolbox. Okay? So, okay? All right, bye-bye.